Right. So again, recording today because not a very good day to miss. We're going to start right here. This is right on top for you. I believe this matches yours, right? This is the Visa card for what? Her name's Carrie Cash. It's kind of, just a weird name just to catch your attention, really. But you can see, obviously, that on here they have for a lot of stuff. They have transaction dates. So that's when that happened on, 7/20. It actually got posted to the credit card on the next day. So maybe that was a weekend, or maybe they had to. You have to run your batch through. Every company does at the end of the day, and that's why it's normally the next day, depending on it. That was at American Airlines and bought a ticket. Well, $248. Really, for kind of how old some of this material is, that's not that off, right? That's believable, right? And then the other thing is a couple days later, you notice how they do go chronological, though, meaning from date to date. Bought something for $27.27. We don't know what. Doesn't tell you what, but we know that it was something. And then there we go, another one there, another American Airlines. Perhaps somebody else is going with them. Who knows? Or maybe they just had to buy another ticket to go somewhere else. Or maybe they're a business person. We don't know. Maybe this is their business credit card. Could be, for all we know, right? And card type there, obviously Visa stands for Visa. Nothing too critical there. So you notice that this person's there, and you have various questions there. So let's maybe just look at the first question. What was the total cost of the items Carrie charged? Well, you could obviously add all those up, right? Or there is actually a spot on here that gives you that number. Okay, so you take a look. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on here, though. You kind of got to read through it a little bit. Well, previous balance, is that what we're looking for? No, that's not it. How about new purchases, fees, advances, and debits? That would be right about here. Is that kind of what we're talking about? Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. So that actually, is that believable? Do you think that total is $495.27? I think it is. Look at it. You can at least see the 27 cents, right? Yeah, that's for sure. And it's at least 400 and something, almost 500, right? So that I would say that that's probably correct. So for number one, your answer would be, the 495.27. Okay. What was her previous balance? The word previous means like before. And balance is how much money that person owed, all right? So previous balance, again, you got to take a look. Previous balance, right there, right? Where I just put the star, okay? 0. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, did she make a credit card payment during July? Well, for those of you that aren't sure, 7 is July, right? Okay. So was there a payment made? And it would actually come up here. There would actually say, like reference, it might be payment, or right here, it might just say payment. So did they make a payment? Or notice over here, this column is for payments. So did this person actually make a payment? Well, let's face it, if her previous balance was 0, why would she be making a payment? Right? Okay, it's kind of a silly question, right? But they really want you to look over there in that box. Is there anything over there? Was there any payments made? Well, no, because this person didn't know anything. Why would you pay? Okay. What was your finance charge? What a finance charge is basically how much you're giving the credit card company for basically giving you the money or paying the money forward for you. Obviously, they got to make money somehow, right? And that's what they're charging you. Well, how much did they charge? Here's your finance charge is 0. Now, one very important key, well, actually, I'll talk about it later because it's another question. Actually, it's the next question. By what date must she pay her new balance to avoid any finance charge the next month? Okay. The nice thing about credit cards is if you pay them off in full, right when you get that first statement that has anything on it, would you agree her previous balance was 0? So this is the first statement she has gotten that basically has nothing on it, right? And there's this new stuff on here. So if she can pay it off by that next due date, no finance charge. That's if you pay it off in full. You leave 1 cent in there, they're going to charge you a finance charge on that. But if you pay it off in full that very next month, no charge. That's kind of nice, right? As long as if you know you're going to have the money, that's when credit cards can actually be a good thing. Okay? When people put it off and put it off and put it off, that's when things get a little dangerous. All right? And then I'll tell you another time it's very dangerous with credit cards. So when is this person supposed to pay this amount? And if they pay it by that date, then they don't pay any charges. Where is that date? That'll tell us. Yeah, it's right at the bottom. This billing date is when the bill was created. Their computer put all this money, put it all together and sent it out in the mail. All right? Now the 26th, that's the day the payment actually has to get back. If that payment gets back to that company before that date, no finance charge. That payment gets to that company on the 27th, finance charge. All right? So basically, August 26th, right? Or 8/26, you can just put that on there. That's the beauty of credit cards, right? But you got to be careful. Okay. So what was the minimum payment she had to make? They'll also give you a minimum payment. They'll say you have to at least pay this much. And if you don't, well, then they can charge you even more fees because it's a late payment, and then they charge you more. And okay, and that's where the problem starts coming up, right? All of a sudden you're paying more, all right, and that's a problem. So minimum payment, they're saying, is $24. Okay, it's right there. Normally that's a percentage of how much you charged or a flat minimum. Normally the minimum's like $10. Okay, because let's say if you charge $24, it's gonna be $10 anyways. It's gonna be the minimum. There's like a flat minimum. After you get above that, that's when percentages start coming in. Okay, as to how much you have to pay. It's basically a percent of how much you charged. Okay, and believe it or not, they want you to pay that minimum. They don't want you to pay any more than that. Because then the next month you still have money in there and they can charge you a finance charge. And then if you keep making that minimum payment, they're going to keep getting money out of you. And so you might have heard some stuff in the news the last couple of years. Now on statements they actually have to put, if you only make the minimum payment, it will take you this long to pay it off. And this is how much you will have actually paid us. Because some people didn't know. So for example, this one's what, $500? They'll say, if you pay the minimum payment, it'll take you 2 years to pay this off. And you would have paid us $700. Okay? They never had to put that on there before. People never made that connection. Now the law says they have to. And then they say, obviously, if you pay it off now, then that's all you pay. You know, they give you a bunch of options on there. Okay? Let's face it, that's what they want you to pay. Okay? They would prefer that they at least get something, because if you don't pay anything, then they have to refer you to a credit board, and then all that stuff happens, and that's not really what they want to have happen. Okay. So number 7, what is the monthly interest rate charged by the company? That might be a harder one to find because I don't think it actually says monthly. Okay. We can find the annual, right? That's right over here, annual. And that's kind of where they are. It depends on, you know, how good your credit is. That the better your credit, the lower they'll put that because they know they're going to get their money. If you're kind of a risk for them, well, they want to kind of get money as soon as possible from you, so they're going to make that higher. Okay? And one little trick is call in. Call the company and say, I would like my interest rate lowered. Sometimes you don't even have to give them a reason. They're like, okay. Or if they say no, I said, okay, I'll go get a different credit card. That normally gets their attention. Okay? So what do you think? Where would that be? You could just divide that by 12, but they've actually done that for you. It's a periodic rate. But our period here, periodic, the period we're talking about is a month. Okay, we're on the first page. Okay, so 1.65% is number 7. And then what is the yearly rate charged by the company? I think we found that a couple places, right? We already found it over here, right? Right there. And it's also right here. So any other questions of what any of the rest of that is? Okay. So basically what they'll do, and I'll do it in a different color so that you can find it. What they do is they take your previous balance, they add on that number, right, because that's how much you charged. They add on this number if there happens to be something there. Now, if that's a payment, what are they going to do with that number? Are they going to add that too? No, they're going to subtract that. But again, why would this person make a payment? They didn't know anything, right, until now, right? And then that's how they get that number. Do you agree that would be correct? If I take 0 plus 495.27 plus 0 minus 0, I get 495.27, right? That's a pretty easy one, right? But obviously there'll be more numbers in here as we go. What's going to prove to be the most complicated for us, and what I'm going to try and do is show you how to do that. I've come up with a visual way of doing it. This particular bit of information, or what I've been using, just wants you to kind of do it by hand with no visual, and I think that's very complicated. That's how most credit cards figure out your finance charge. They figure out your average daily balance. Okay? They do it that way because they get more money that way. Okay? I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth. Some do it other ways, but almost all of them I've seen do average daily balance because, let's face it, they want to make as much money as possible. Okay? So any questions on that? So that's the first page, right? On to the next page. Now you may notice a very familiar number. Right there, right? 495.27. Have we seen that number somewhere? Yeah, it was from the last page, right? So let's see if we can fill in some of this stuff here. Were there any new, we're right here, were there any new purchases, fees, advances, and or debits? Well, yeah, you just match the column. It's right here, right? And if you need a calculator, that's fine. You know, you can go run back and get one. But basically, to find that number, we're just going to go ahead, we're going to add that together. And we'll just take a couple numbers from different people just to make sure it's right. But I think we can all tell that it's going to be over $200, right, if you add those together, at least. 250, 235. Are we in agreement? 252, 35? That goes here, right? Is that where I should put that? Yeah, that's new purchases. So obviously, what this person do? They went to Super America, Brit Airways, and then the Greenleaf Hotel. So this is looking more and more like possibly a business credit card, right? Super America, you know, maybe that's a gas station or something. I'm not really sure what that is, but or maybe just a place to buy stuff. I don't know. Finance charge. Well, we don't know that yet. Okay, so we have to wait on finance charge. That's going to be the tricky one. Okay, payments and or credits. Well, we'll kind of color code that. That one's a little easier to add, right? That's over there. So this person made a $100 payment. And then notice this one here. Do you remember that ticket that they bought last month? Apparently they didn't use that one. Okay, so this company must have been very nice and allowed them just to refund that. Not all tickets are refundable. All right, watch out when you do that. All right, but apparently this person, business person, so they know their schedule changes a lot, so they pay that a little extra to get a refundable ticket if they need to, and so that just got credited. So is that really a payment that this person made? Not really. It's basically American Airlines saying, okay, we'll put that money back on your card, saying, okay, you didn't actually spend that, you didn't actually buy that from us, okay? And sometimes that takes a lot to make them do that, all right? But in this case, they did. And so what'd you tell me the total was if I add that up? That's 348. I agree. All right. Now, we can't do new balance yet because we haven't done that one. And we can't do finance charge because we haven't done that one, okay? And so that's where we're going to take our time. If at any point showing you how to do average daily balance that you get a little behind, let me know right away, okay? Do not wait. Okay, so this looks like August, huh? All right. Well, what we're going to do then, and I think this is the best way to do it, and I'm going to actually simplify it. Technically, remember that last payment was what, the 26th of August? Technically, I should start this on the 27th of August, then go to the 28th, 29th. I'm just going to say forget it. Let's just do August. All right, because it's just going to be easier. Is your number going to be perfect? No. But are you going to get the idea of average daily balance? Yes. All right, close enough. All right, so we're missing about, what, 4 days here at the end of July, but I think that's okay. All right, so we're saying that on August, so you got a calendar of August, correct? So I'm saying that on August 1st, again, what we want to do on each day, what we're going to do is we're going to put what the balance is. And do you agree then that if you look at these dates, okay, so basically you kind of have to go by the posting date because that's what the credit card company does. They don't care when it happened. They care when it got to them. All right, so this right here is basically when it got to them and got posted to your account. That's what they care about. All right, so up here on 8/1, before all of this happened, we're going to say that the balance was $495.27, okay? So $495.27. And so what I'm going to do is on your calendar, right here, it looks something like that, right? We're going to say that the balance on just that day was $495.27, okay? So do you agree with that? Again, we should be going back a couple more days, but that's just 4 days. It's close enough, okay? And plus, it's just easier just to show you one calendar than show you 3 or 4, okay? So do you agree basically nothing happens to that balance until the 15th, right? So is the balance every single day up to the 15th, is it $495.27? Because has anything happened to that number? Has it gone up or down? No. So here's what I like to do. I kind of cheat because I don't want to sit there and write $495.27 for a bunch of days. So kind of what I do, and it's up to you. You can if you want. You can sit there and keep writing it. I just kind of draw an arrow like this, and I say that's the balance until, it's the balance all the way, what day was it? The 15th. So all the way up to here, right? That's the balance. Right? Again, if you really want to sit there and write it in all those times, go right ahead. Okay? That is completely up to you. Okay? Some people in the last year did that. They just wrote it every single day because it made more sense to them. Fine. That is a good strategy then. Okay, I'm going to change the color here. But then on the 15th, you're telling me something changed. The balance changed. Did it go up or down? Did the balance go up or down based on what happened that day? Why would you say up or why would you say down? Well, a payment was made, correct? So as far as this person's concerned, they should owe less money, right? They paid some money. They should owe less. And let's face it, the credit card company has to agree with that. You know what? You gave me money. All right? You now owe less. Well, if it was $495.27, I take away 100. What are we at? There you go, $395.27, right? And that starts on this day, correct? So you agree that's the balance on the 15th. Because when did it get posted? On the 15th. Now, is the balance that same for very long? No, because do you agree something else happens on the 17th? That's the next time something happens. So what about the 16th? Is the 16th still the same balance? Yeah, this one is, right? $395.27. It's still the same balance. But you're telling me on the 17th, changes are made. Okay, and here's where we're going to need, notice I said changes. It was plural when I said that. Now, why would I say changes? Yeah, two things happen, okay? So basically, let me get rid of this other stuff. Hopefully this isn't confusing all my little circles and everything. On the 17th, both of these happen, correct? On the 17th. So overall, just give me a general answer. Overall, once both of those happen, will the balance go up or down? Overall. Down because that credit, right? It's way more than the new purchase. Okay? So what I would like you to do is tell me what's the overall change. We know that it's going to go down 248, right? And then it's going to go basically back up 25. So take, now don't take 495, take, whoops, wrong way. Take 395.27 then. All right, and I have to put 5 first. There we go. And subtract, what was it, 248? Just 248, right? So it goes down 248, right? But then it goes back up 25. Okay, so whatever happens there, now that's not going to be much, is it? You know, if it's going down almost 250, and then back up 25, you know, that's not going to be all that much. Now, if you tell me $10, obviously your calculation's a little off, right? Or if you tell me 400, something's wrong here. So make sure that it's believable. 172, is it 0.27, right? 172.27 on that day. Now, do you understand why we had to do both right away? Because they happened on the same day, okay? All right. Any questions so far? Is this going all right? Trust me, this is way better than the way this book wanted you to do it. It's confusing. All right. So now that's the balance until the 20th, huh? So maybe we'll go, I don't know. So on the 20th, oh, once again, look. Two things, right? On the 20th. So what that basically means, though, is that this is the balance all the way. Is it the balance on this day, 172.27? Yep. 27? My good. All right. How about on the 19th? Is it still 172.27? Okay. I think the fact that this is almost palindromic is really throwing me off here. It's almost the same forward and backwards. It's really messing me up. All right. On the 20th, should I put 172.27? No, I should not. Because if we look back here, it has, whoa, just once. It has changed. Now, overall, is it going to go up or down? The balance is going to go up or down? Up, well, quite a bit, right? It's going to go up. We have to add both those. 96 and 131.35, right? I might ask for those numbers again. But so this number you told me was 172.27. I forced my hand to do that one. All right, and then was 96 was one of them, right? So add 96 to the balance, and then also add, it was 131.35 to the balance, right? So let's face it, this is going to get back over at least 200 and probably over 300, right? And almost back to 400, right? If you look at those numbers just in general, right? So it's going to get pretty close, okay? And what'd you find out for that number? 390, ooh, really close, huh? 399.62. Now, what day does that actually start on, though? The 20th. 399.62. Now, let's go back. Are there any more changes the rest of this month based on what you see here? Now, let's face it, this is a pretty small one. A pretty small, well, I didn't sit here and kill you with 100 different transactions. All right, but I'm just trying you to get the idea. This is hard enough, right? Now, let's realize they have computers that do all this, okay? But I need you to know how they do it. So basically, you're saying I could just put an arrow the rest of the way, huh? Now, when you take the average of something, let's say I gave you 3 test scores. What would you do with those 3 test scores? Add them up and then divide by how many there were, which was 3, right? So what we have to do is add up all these balances. Is that going to be a pretty big number? If I add them all up, meaning each day, 495.27 plus 495.27 plus, now don't do it that way, please, it's going to take forever, all right? Plus 495, add them all up, that's going to be a big number, right? But then you have to divide by how many days you had, okay? And that's why I went this way, because people were getting confused if I went back days into the other month, how many days it actually was, okay? So I figured let's just go 1 to the whatever, and then it's good enough, right? Okay, so let's start adding that up. But here's what I would do, and we'll do it. That's why I gave you some room at the bottom there to do this math. Obviously, I don't have that room. I'll do it off to the side. We know 495.27 was the balance for quite a while, right? Well, how many days? Well, let's go. I mean, that's pretty easy. And, you know, you could count, right? But 1, 2, I think you get the idea that it matches whatever number I'm on, right? So how many days was that the balance? Well, it went from 1 to 14. So could you type that into your calculator and add it together 14 times? Sure. Why don't we just take it times 14? Okay, isn't that faster? Okay. So times 14. So that in itself is going to be a big number. Okay, that's okay. All right? I probably should have kept that in red and we could have color-coded everything, but I'll do that. That way we can look for it again. Times 14. Well, what is that number? Did anybody happen to get that calculator to 76? 78? Okay, so what I would do if I were you is down there underneath, you got room to write this down, right? Actually write 495.27 times 14 and write what the answer is. Okay? Okay? Is that the balance for the whole month? That's just days 1 through 14. Right? So now let's go do the green ones. Everybody okay with that? Now, I know you can't color code it necessarily on your notes there, but so now we've got 395.27. Well, I can probably just add that, right? Or just it's quicker just to do times 2, right? So we're talking about 800, right? Somewhere in there. 790, just 90 flat out. Okay. Again, I would put a box around that so you can find it again. Now, why times 2? Because it was the balance for 1, 2 days, right? So now, according to mine, we should probably go to the blue. Can I erase this stuff on the right-hand side? Everybody's good with those numbers? Everybody? Okay. Go away. Okay. So now we'll go to the blue, which is 172.27. Well, times how many days? Well, 1, 2, 3, right? So we're expecting that one to be, you know, 400 or 500, something like that, just based on the numbers. Well, maybe more like 500, 600. 516.81. Again, I would put a box around that number. Any idea why I'm putting a box around these numbers? It's so you can find them. All right, let's face it, some of our work is not the neatest in the world. So put boxes around them so that you can add them when you're done. But luckily, we only have one more to do, right? And that is, it's a big one. 399.62. Now, this might get a little harder. Yeah, how many? So here, you could always do that. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You see why I gave you the calendar, how much easier that is just to sit there and add them like that, right? Instead of trying to do that in your head, okay, how many, because people do it wrong every time. How many days is that, you know? Okay, so times 12. Because let's face it, if you did 31 minus 20 in your head, you're going to tell me 11, right? That's because you subtracted out the 20th when you want the 20th to still be in there. Okay, so that's why it's easier just to use the calendar. That way you can just count them, all right? All right, so times 12, that's going to be pretty big. Is it bigger than that other one? I don't think so, because I took it times 14 over there, right? And that was a bigger number to begin with, but it's still pretty big, right? Yeah, we're looking at 400 times 12. Yeah, it's going to be up there. Just flat out? I was going to say, yeah, 4, 4. All right. So again, put a box around that. Again, why was I having you put boxes around those darn things? Yeah, now you can find it. Yeah, now you got to add them up. All right, so you take 6,933.78 plus 790.54 plus 516.81 times, or not times, plus 4,795.44. Whew, that's a lot. I don't know. I don't have any colors left. We'll make one. All right. Well, that's not good. Let me play with it. There we go. Purple. All right, what is the total of all that? 13,000? Just 36 like this? Okay. 57 cents. So is that how much you owe? No. Okay. This is what they do. I sure hope not, right? Okay. This is how they do it. They basically find your balance each day. All right. And again, I'm going to do it this way. I should have had you stop sooner and all that, but let's just do the month like this. It's easier, okay? It's close enough. And now we have to basically, to find the average, you agree we added up a whole lot of numbers, right? What you have to do now is divide by how many numbers you added up, and how many numbers did you add up? 31. See how much easier that is if I just do it this way? Okay, so go ahead and, well, I'll just put it this way. Divide that by 31, and I'll write the answer somewhere else here. And you just kind of round, however that makes sense, because divide by 31. Because that's how many days we just added up. And we did it a little quicker way by multiplying some things instead of adding every single day, right? That would take forever. All right. So does anybody have 420.53? Are we in agreement with that, those of you with the calculators? So wait a minute, what's that number? We just did all this math, and you know what? It doesn't matter if you don't know what we just did. That's the average daily, see, each day balance. Does that word make sense now when you see it? Average daily balance. They take all the days, add them up, whatever your balance was, and then divide by how many days it was. So 420.53. Okay. Wrong way. 420.53. Okay. Whew. That was a lot of work. Not any one step overly difficult, right? But there was a lot to do there, all right? So 420.53. We're almost there. We are almost done with filling this out. So now we can go and fill in the finance charge. Because what you do is you take that periodic rate, which is right here, 1.65. You take that 420.53. Now I know that normally there wouldn't be little calculations down in here, right? So take 420.53, and you have to take it times this, but you have to write it as a decimal, and that's why we worked on that, right? And the easiest way to do that is just take that decimal, move it over twice. So 0.0165. Take it times, and now this is money, so you just round as you would round money, okay? Because that's what it is. You might be surprised. It might be a smaller number than you were anticipating, but again, they get their money eventually, okay? Trust me on that. Again, might be a little smaller than you thought. What is it? If you round it, it's 694 if you round. So wait a minute. That company's only getting about $7 for me for this month? Yeah, but I still have, well, let's find out how much I still have to owe them. I only paid some of it off, right? Okay, that's why there's a finance charge, because I only paid some of it off. I didn't pay it off completely. And so I still owe some money. And so now what do we do to find that new balance again? What did I show you on that first page? You take the previous balance. Do we add or subtract this one? Add. Okay, add that one. Do we add or subtract this one? Add. Add or subtract? Subtract. And then boom, there it is. it'll give you how much you then. So what are we thinking here? 495. You're adding quite a bit, adding a little bit more, subtracting. Not too bad. 348, right? And then new balance in there. So we owe some money still. 406. 406.56. Wow. So just in that month, when I paid off quite a bit, right? I paid off 348. I'm still owing them $7. So what if I go with the minimum payment next month? I'm going to owe them another about $7, and I'm still going to owe them $300 and some. See what I mean? So over the long haul, you do that. Let's say you don't pay this off for a year and a half. That's basically 7 times 18 for a year and a half, right? For 18 months. That starts adding up. And then maybe you miss paying one of those months. There's another $25 late fee. All right, add that on top of what you owe. All right, so you got to be careful. Okay, so that took longer than I thought. So maybe tomorrow we'll start class with you guys looking at your registers and making sure that they're right, doing your reconcile, and then we'll look at some more of these. Okay.